Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us again for another episode of Leadership for the Now. My name is Lungu, and I'm so delighted to be with you today. And today, I'm joined by a wonderful guest, Alena Ipanova. Hi, Alena.
Hi, Florin. Nice to be here.
Thank you for making the time.
Thanks for the invitation. So let's create the value together.
Absolutely, I look forward to do that. So before we start, why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit for someone that doesn't know you?
Okay, so I try to be brief. I'm Elena, and I run a consultancy company called Synergizer. And obviously, the mission is to create synergy. I work in the area of intercultural leadership and team development, and my mission is to help leaders and teams develop global mindset and inclusive communication. So this is me in a nutshell. And beside that, I'm a mom of three wonderful kids, and they travel the world together with me and exploring different places. So this is how we develop our own cultural intelligence, sort of, to serve my clients better.
Absolutely, I love that, and I follow you and your family around, on Instagram. Where are you calling in now? Where are you from?
So I'm currently, yeah, currently I'm in Tenerife, Spain. I'm enjoying the sun.
Wonderful. I cannot say I don't envy you because I'm in dark Sweden, Denmark here in the Nordics. So yeah, but thank you for making the time, and being on the show. Tell us a little bit about how to become passionate about leadership and intercultural communication.
This is a very good question. And actually, it's the whole journey. And probably now I kind of understand how it all, like all the pieces of puzzle just came together. Is I've been working within different sectors, within education, with municipalities, companies. And I was always passionate about training. And once I got an amazing opportunity to work with as a project manager and trainer across the globe with different projects. And that time I realized that my background in education, training, and psychology was simply not enough to help people manage teamwork successfully, to solve some conflicts, to overcome internal challenges as well. So I became very curious to explore more what's more of that, and I found out that there is the field of intercultural competence, intercultural communication. So I embarked on this journey. And I was truly fascinated by all the theories and all the frameworks that exist. But actually, that was a little bit naive to think that having this knowledge will help tackle the challenges. It actually takes much more than that, and not theories, but developing flexibility, developing like cognitive flexibility, and bunch of other skills to be able to use that knowledge for good, to serve us all well. So this is how I came to the point when I'm doing when I do what I'm doing, and I'm truly enjoying that.
Wow, and I can see that on your face and the smile and the passion you're sharing when you talk about that. So when you start diving into that, then you realize there are more pieces to it, right? It's not just the theories and all that. And now, tell us a little bit about how you help organizations, or I mean, I don't know if it's organization, but who would be some of your clients, and how do you help them? Like, how do you work with someone or with an organization?
So I will gladly share. I work with quite different organizations actually, and I think it's really fun and it's so valuable because then I see the needs across different sectors. And basically, some of the examples could be that I work a lot with engineers in Sweden, and I'm developing the Certificate of Global Competence program for engineers. So this is one of the ways to support them in their projects, in their life and career, because they have their projects across the globe, and it's just not enough to be an expert in their own field. to succeed with the project when they come to South Africa, for instance, or to China. It doesn't matter how much of the expertise they have. I mean, it matters, but if they can't really find communication channel and to establish good relationships, understand how local reality works, then the project won't succeed. So that's why I'm helping I'm helping them to develop this cognitive flexibility to be able to navigate in different situations.
Wow, that's so interesting. And I also, because my engineering background, I kind of know one of the challenges we faced and I faced was communicating, my ideas and my value and positioning that in different cultures, working with, for example, suppliers and clients from Asia, from Japan, very different culture, very, very different. And we, unfortunately, I didn't have the support that I need. I didn't have someone like you to explain me, the difference between kind of the European or the Swedish culture and then the maybe the Japanese culture. What do I need to be aware of? How do I, explain my ideas and my points, and how do we collaborate? So I think your work is very, very valuable.
Thank you, Florin. Actually, I'm going to break some of the stereotypes or some of the, thoughts, because initially when I talk about culture, people go to the national culture. But actually, as individuals, we belong to a minimum 15 different cultures. If we take gender, if we take family, national culture, so all those components, profession that we choose. So we don't choose the place of birth, but we choose our hobbies. So all in all, our identity is very complex. And actually, the research shows that about 80% of differences are found actually within the same culture, within the same country, and only 20% between them. So let's say Swedish engineers are more likely to have more in common with Chinese engineers than Swedish engineers with Swedish HR.
That's very interesting. That's a very interesting perspective. I know that the notion of us belonging to different groups, and we call those in groups, right, and out groups, right, the people that we identify with, like you just mentioned, gender and nationality and maybe language we speak. So there will be the groups we are part of, and with people with the same um, from the same groups, we call them in group. And then we have out groups, like in your case engineers are part of an in group, and then HR is out of that group. But I didn't see them as culture. I was thinking about culture as, national culture, nationality almost.
There's much more to that. I mean, we are all a part of small cultures, we express one part of our identity when we are playing in a basketball team, right? And then we go and take in a drawing workshop or something. So it's another part of our identity that is displayed in like different settings, different contexts. So it's really fascinating, and I think it's so important to actually just reflect on that, so that we don't fall into stereotypes like, oh, all Spanish are like that, or all Swedes are like that. So we are all shaped by different influences, and this is what makes our work more, more complicated and more interesting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I imagine now being a leader on one of these, global organizations, or leading one of these, diverse teams. What would you say then the challenges that leaders face in today's world would be? Like in this kind of environment where we are more and more on one side, when we say connected, that we have talent around the world, right? And teams are now spread in different centers around the world. And I believe this comes with challenges, right, for leaders. So what would you see would be some of those challenges that leaders face?
There are quite many actually. So just to stem it to, like, we can say communication is a challenge, but what is communication? Like, you ask many people about it and you get totally different opinions. What does it mean to communicate effectively? I would say generally I would refer to actually to cultural intelligence, because this is something that I believe is very important. it's something that is not just nice to have, it's crucial, crucial skill and competence to develop. And to define it, it's our ability to relate to and to work together with people who think and behave differently, with people who are not like us. So instead of making assumptions, instead of judging through our own filters, it is important to actually think, okay, what else might be true? Challenge our own thinking and just being curious about people, to create connection, to develop relationships. So I think these type of challenges are, they were here before pandemic and they're still here. They are maybe not in, we have them in different contexts right now because the situation in the world changed, work environment also shifted a little bit, but the challenges are the same.
Wow. So tell us again the definition for this cultural intelligence. So the ability to work together and relate with
And to
people.
relate to people who think and behave differently, yeah, to people who are not like us, who have like, I think also here, Florin, it's important to understand culture. That culture is not who we are, it's what we are used to. So we are conditioned by our culture as a system. So this culture is a system. And as children, we grow up, we are curious, we ask questions, and then we learn what is accepted, what is not. What is good and what is bad, what is black and what is white. And then it defines how we see the world, it defines our beliefs, the system of our values. And then, I mean, of course, we have different experiences, and it also impacts who we are. And so I usually use the metaphor of iceberg. Like, imagine that each person is an iceberg, and you see something like on the top, and this is visible, like behavior, the words we say, and then all the clashes are happening on the underwater layer. And yeah, we might be not aware of those, and they're not visible. So the question is, how big is the gap between your normal and my normal in this sense? When we are building relationships, when we are working together as a team, or when we communicate as a leader with our team and employees and things like that.
And you just mentioned sorry, uh, a word there, normal, right? When I hear people say, "Well, this is not normal," or "What it's a normal example," and I say, "My normal, your normal, who's normal? Who defines normal?
Yeah,
Right?"
this is what we got used to, this is what we think, like, okay, this is common sense.
Yeah.
And actually common sense is not that common because we have it all differently. It doesn't exclude, that if I'm right, that somebody's wrong. It's not like that. I have my right and you have your right. So okay, let's have a conversation to understand what is it and what actually serves the situation best. And I believe the best way here to manage all this, to narrow down the gaps, is to shift the perspective from the ego to something like we say coaching position or observer position. And it helps tremendously just to be able to look at the situation from a different angle.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned like challenge that leaders face. You mentioned communication. You mentioned now this cultural intelligence, which it's a skill and it's something that is needed. That they need to be able to do that. They need to be able to work with and relate to people that are different than them. And also, is there anything else like what you would add to the list, like challenges that leaders face in today's world?
Hmm. I would actually name such challenges as teamwork in general, and also self-leadership,
Mhm.
because in order to lead others, we need to be able to lead ourselves, and we set the example as well. And possibly also the how we define leadership. And I would say it's important to understand that it's not about the role or the position. It's more about the state of mind. It's about the mindset. It's about your responsibility, the way you show up for yourself, the way you show up for others in your daily life. So it's much more to it than just having a management or executive position.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's so good. So for someone, for example, that we know that today. I mean, what is your opinion about what happening in the talent? In the talent pool. Like, we heard about this great resignation, and now the silent quitting, and maybe now some lay off at the Facebook or Twitter. Like, what do you see? What trends are you seeing with the people and the companies that you're connected with?
Yeah, this is a very good question. I'm thinking when I'm thinking about that, I think about pandemic and how the change happened in terms of, many people were put into very stressful situations, and some of them quite enjoyed the results of it, that we can now work remotely, or we have hybrid workspaces and things like that. And others learned that actually it doesn't work for them at all. So they need to go to the office, they need to be surrounded by their colleagues. So I think that was a very important social learning as well. But with that, organizations should also shift. Though, we talk about opportunities, right? So what are the opportunities that we can see, and what are the challenges? And I think that those opportunities were there before, but they were not used, they were not generated, they were not created. And now we just have to do something in order to manage the situation. And of course, the best option is to turn whatever challenges we have into opportunities. Um, but generally, people had some time to reflect,
Hmm.
either willingly or unwillingly, to understand what works, what is important to them. And I think now we also see how much attention we all pay to mental health at workplaces, especially after pandemic. I mean, it was there before, but now it's a very emergent topic. And people just try to find balance. They want to be happy, because we reflected on that, right? And we spend so much time at work that we want our life, like, not to be it in the way that we start our life after work, but we want to live our life at work. And I think that this realization came very, very close to many people right now.
Yeah. And then what would be then some opportunities that organizations have to offer that, right? So if you're an organization, if you're a leader, and you see these, right? You see that people maybe there was, with the pandemic, I say there was a shift in values, right? People now value their time much more than they valued before, and many organizations welcome, as you said, remote work. It was not the norm; it was an exception that you could work remotely. Now it's much more the norm, or is much more accepted, and it's also much more demanded. So now organizations need to adapt to that, right? And if they do it rightly, they have some opportunities, right, that they could take advantage of.
So what do you think those opportunities are,
Yeah, so I
in
think
your
just
perspective?
yeah, I think what you mentioned there is, if I would be a leader and watching this interview, right, and this conversation, and hearing that, and also watching what's happening around us, I will say, okay, so now I want to make sure that my people are actually listened to. So, in other words, I want to make sure that I know what's going on in their lives right now, and what would be their priorities right now. Because what was before the pandemic, what was maybe 6 months ago, might not be what they want now. What I mean by that is that maybe people have, let's say, uh, they have an event in the family. They buy a house, they get married, they move, they have a child. These events, right, change their priorities. Now we say pandemic, the pandemic actually has accelerated this change, and people started to, see these things differently. But as a leader, we always have to check in with our people. So if I would be a leader and in today's world, and I don't want to be on to suffer from the great resignation or the silent quitting, the silent quitters are the people that see that things could be done differently, or they see that they have opportunities. They don't even want to change the culture they're in, and they're just looking for another opportunity. So if I would be a leader, an opportunity for me as a leader would be to check in with my people to make sure that they're not silent quitting, and that I know what's going on in their lives, and that I know that if their priorities have shifted, that I can offer that. I can offer them remote work if that's what they're looking for. I can offer them office space if that's what they're looking for. Some might not have an office at home or a room dedicated to office, and might live with family members, and they don't have the quiet space and time to work and concentrate at home. And they might need an office space. So how do I know who needs an office space and who needs to work from home? So if I would be a leader, I would really listen in and make sure that I check in with my people.
That's a very good point, Florin. I absolutely agree. And here we actually tap to empathy and care, that showing people that you care not only in words but in actions. And there might be so many different initiatives from the company side. I've been discussing recently with one of my friends the possibility for employees to use co-working space a couple of times a week, and for the company to pay for that. And that would be also something, to boost creativity, for people to be exposed to different kind of environment, and also to be able to network with different entrepreneurs and other companies sharing the same space. So overall, I think it could boost motivation and creativity, and just being socially engaged on a different note when you are in a different environment.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's wise because we also know organizations struggle before. Some of the organizations I work with struggle with the office space, right? They didn't have, enough desks or offices for people, and they were looking for space, and now there's this opportunity for them to have some savings on rent, right, while they could offer these opportunities to their people. So I can see how that will solve the problem or help some of those people. So looking at maybe just top of mind, like just helicopter view, what would be three things that organizations should do, right, to motivate, attract, and retain talent? Like just your top three. If you sit with a leader and have lunch, and they ask you, Alena, what should I do? What would you tell to them?
It should be obviously three different things for what was that, attraction, motivation, and retention. But generally, investing into people.
Sorry, don't you have a silver bullet to hit them, the three of them?
I wish I had. Yeah, but generally taking care of people and being more people-centered and supporting people. I think when we talk about attraction, it is very important to live by your values, to walk the talk. And just to give you an example, that recently there was one company that I'm not going to say the name, though I would like to, but because I'm mentioning them on a positive note, and they promoted themselves as, we don't need you to be like an expert in a certain field. We are going to help you learn the skills that you need in order to do your job. So just apply. And I was curious to check if it's true. So what are the job positions that they have, and what's the description? And that was it. And some of my connections had very positive experience with that. And it's just one of the examples how you have like the overall image that you create, and how you live by it, and how you reflect on your values. This is just one of the examples. And I think generally people are the best PR for their company, and loyal people, people who show their integrity. And it all depends on how you manage, how well you manage to create safe space, open space for them, how much you show your care, how much valued they feel. And then you don't need to ask them to talk about the company. They will do it based on their free will because they want to share how happy they are there.
Absolutely. It's like when we find a really good restaurant, we want to share with our friends, right? We want to take them all there, right? So that's such a good thing because being an ambassador for the organization and for the company is not something that you could ask people to do, but if they do it, it means that you're doing something really really well, and that speaks for itself. And also what you just mentioned, the first example you gave with that company, that it's the same with hiring for maybe personality and training skill, right? Rather than them looking for experts, they were happy to have people that can learn the skill that they need them to have while they are at the company. And so again, you lower the entry point and the entry threshold, right, in your organization, which allows you to attract more people.
Yeah. I think also here it's very important to understand as a company, who do you want to attract? And as soon as you understand that, and when you have this clarity, then it will be easier also to tap into the value system of that category of people. Um, yeah, and it's just sometimes we do need experts. We do need senior experts for a specific position. Again, it depends on the industry. But generally, it's just important to understand who would you like to attract to your company.
Absolutely, yeah. So can we go to some more personal questions, like towards the end of our discussion?
Of course, let's do it.
So if we would, for example, if we would have coffee next year, right, the same time, right? Uh, it's almost 1st of December, right, 2022, and we talk about 2023. What are you working towards, or what are you working on for 2022? What would you share with us, Florin? Since our last talk, this is what happened in my life.
Mm. I love these visioning questions. I see myself on the mission to raise awareness about the importance of um, developing this connection with people, connecting with people, and investing in people, and generally developing relationships. Because the research shows also that about 80% of problems at workplace stem from strained relationships. So if we manage to improve our relationship with people, our communication, just imagine on 5% or 10%, what a change it's going to be. So I see myself on the mission to raise awareness about that. And there is a strategic way to work towards, for instance, developing cultural intelligence and really working with diversity, not only on paper that it just looks nice, but actually addressing all the layers, not only visible layers of diversity, but also cognitive diversity. And I would say I would go for some numbers. I read the article that in life we like in a lifespan we impact about 10,000 people.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking that, oh, why not to impact 10,000 people like in a year time? So that would be a great challenge, and there are many ways to do that. To talk to companies, to have breakfast seminars, to launch some courses that people can use for onboarding processes and things like that. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I do believe that it's so much needed. It can improve the quality of relationship at work and uh, impact performance and joy. So
Absolutely.
this
Absolutely.
is it.
I see your, I see the passion when you talk about it, and I see that in your voice and on your face. So I look forward to follow your journey and to follow that and see
No
those.
pressure.
No pressure at all. Now you just put at this is on, it's recorded, so we have it here. You cannot escape right now.
Okay, I'll watch it again in 1 year.
I'm joking. No pressure, of course. But if there's anything we could do and I could do to help you, make that happen, I'll be more than happy to support you on that. And I think it's a great
Thank
vision,
you.
and I'm sure you're gonna make it. I'm sure you're gonna make it happen.
Thank you so much, Florin.
You're welcome. So I know we have some more questions. I had some more questions for you, but I think we are over time already. So why don't we end this discussion with the question that I usually ask my guests? And what does leadership today means to you? If you would define leadership today in a word or a sentence, what would that be?
So for me, leadership is about, I think I mentioned about that already. It's self-leadership, and this is the mindset, and it's growth mindset. It's adaptable and flexible. Um, our ability to really, be curious as a leader, and it's definitely more about our internal state first of all, and how we show up for ourselves, and then how we show up for others. So it doesn't matter which position you have, and if you are just stepping into career, and so you can own it. You can own your leadership, and it starts with you. So this is the most important.
Absolutely. And the quote that I really love, and I think I share it in one of our posts, is what John Maxwell, our founder, says is that the most difficult person to lead is yourself, right? So I love that you just said that leadership for you means self leadership, because it really starts there, right? It starts with us, and it starts with leading ourselves and being walk the talk, be the example, lead by example, and then if we do that well, and the others will also come. But if we don't do this well, I don't think we can lead others if we cannot lead ourselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for being on the show, Alena.
Thank
It was
you.
discussing with you. I hope you enjoy it as well.
Yes, Florin, time flew so fast. Thank you
Absolutely.
for having me here. It's
Thank you
been a
for
pleasure.
thank you for coming. And everyone watching, thank you for tuning in. I look forward to see you again with another guest on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.